All right, I don't expect very many people, and there's no one on yet. So, we will see if anybody shows up. Hey, Lenza! Thank you for coming on. I need feedback, girl. So, my background is a mess right now. I'm a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. I was working all day. So, I don't know. I don't know who else is going to come on. Let's see. Let us see who else is on. Let's see. It says 2 people, 3 people. Hey, everybody. All right. So, I am just going to kind of start. As I was telling Lenza, who's the first person here, I don't expect very many people to be on today because I didn't give a whole lot of time for everyone to get on. I was supposed to start last week. It's just whatever. It is what it is. I mean, stuff happens. So, but I've got my microphone. I've got my video going. I need a new camera, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. I need better lighting. And I need to clear up my studio and make it more fancified. But, and then I've got the dogs in the background, so always nice. Anyway, so I am going to talk about mental health stuff today. Let's see, somebody else joined and then dropped off. I don't know who's on. Unless you comment, I don't think I can figure out who's on. Let me see if I can. They changed this all around with Facebook Live from last time that I did this. So I don't know how to find anything. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know who. Nope, there's only one person on right now. All right, well, nobody has time, so that's okay. Let's see. I am going to. How did my camera. Okay, here we go. I don't know how my camera went off here. Settings, stream, insight, stream. Settings, dashboard. Okay, there we go. I lost myself for a minute there. Okay, somebody else has joined. Hey, everybody. I can't see who it is unless you comment. So it would be great if people would comment. Looks like people are popping on and out. So I guess it's probably going across people's feed. I don't know. Anyway, feedback. Lenza, it looks like it's just you right now. You and me. Let's see if that is you who is still on. Okay, I've got 3 viewers. So I can't see who is on. Okay, perfect. Oh, so audio and video is working at least, without the fancy lighting and everything else. Hey, Kim. Hey, girl. So you made it. Thank you for joining us. Feedback. I was just telling Lenza that, let's see. I need feedback on anything, any topics, anything. So we'll see who joins. It looks like people are kind of popping in and out, which is fine. I was not, like I said before, I wasn't expecting very many people today. So we'll just see. I'm just going to give it a little bit more time. So, little bit of background about me for those of you who don't really know. I've been a licensed health counselor, a licensed practicing counselor for 20 something years now. So I also was a personal trainer. I have a background in sports nutrition, and I am recently, in fact, my friend Kim, who's on or was on, she's my bestie. She and I have been like peptide queens and like figuring all the biohacking stuff out. And so that's been really fun. And so I plan on sharing that. I plan on having guests. I already have some guests lined up for the real podcast. Today's just kind of like a, okay, thank you, Kim. I can't see, all I see is current viewers, and then it goes like up to like 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it drops back down again to like 2. So people are just kind of popping on and off, and that's fine. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm gonna have guest speakers on. I already have some lined up. I'm going to be focusing in the beginning on a lot of women's health issues because it's 2025 and women are just not even considered part of research. I mean, we've started to be in terms of mental and physical health. So hopefully that will continue to increase. But I have some friends and I'm colleagues, and I have some recommendations of people. In fact, I love recommendations. So if you guys can give me any recommendations for people that you think that I should have on the show. Did I say 2025? 2026. Kim just said 2026. Did I just say 2025? I don't know what that means. Anyway, you got to be more specific, girl. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so if you guys have any feedback whatsoever, I understand my studio is not really a studio right now. It's my home office. And, I said 2025. All right. Oh, I did when I said women's health and you're right. Sorry. 2026. Here we are in like, how many days in? 6 days in? 6 days into 2026. We're all kind of allowed to write the wrong date on things for a minute here, right? But yes, you're right, Kim. It is 2026, and yeah, exactly. So you got me, Kim. It's only 6 days in. So anyhow, so I am looking for any kind of suggestions that anybody has. I understand, again, that my office space is not a studio. That will be coming in the future. I get a month. Thanks, Kim. I appreciate that. I get a month to say 2025. But yeah, women's health is not, I mean, we have not really been researched. And a lot of the info that we get from our doctors is all old fashioned allopathic medicine, and is not like, it doesn't incorporate like holistic care or any type of, modern research on a lot of things. We still get run by the drug companies, unfortunately. So that's something that I hope to kind of intervene with. Just a little bit about like my thoughts on allopathic medicine, which is kind of the old way that medicine went, versus the new medicine that I'm like hoping sweeps across with like biohacking and holistic work and integrated care and all of that. Allopathic is the old fashioned standard, and it was created basically by big pharma and by like heavy duty 1%ers back at the turn of the century, not this century, but the but the 20th century. So we've, we haven't come very far when it comes to things. And like, again, women's health is not really spoken of. But I want to reach everybody. I don't want to just talk to women, but I think women is my main kind of goal, talking about like what health options we have in terms of like new ways of doing things, I think is cool. So that's a little bit about where I'm at right now. My dogs are making weird sounds right now. Let's see. I don't know. What else? Topics, insights. I know a lot of people want to know all kinds of things like what is EMDR? What's IOP? In the mental health world. What is the connection between mental health and physical health? Those are topics that I'm going to be talking a lot about. Things that have to do with moving us forward in terms of, mental health and physical health and new research and new ways of thinking that aren't connected to those big pharma companies and to the one percenters, because we're talking like old money, like Rockefellers and, all those old guys who maybe still run the country if you follow conspiracy theories. Kim, mental health and menopause. Definitely. When we get to that age, women's health starts to kind of turn in that direction of being a little bit older and not having those, 20 something year old, like, you can stay up all night partying and then, jump out of bed in the morning and 2 hours later and brush your teeth and go to work, those are long gone for those of us in menopause. So, or post-menopause or even premenopause, right? So, because the whole thing is, menopause actually is the new research is showing that menopause is actually starting much sooner than it used to be. So even though we were living longer for a while, that's kind of in question right now, but for a while we were living longer. And so the idea is we're going to live longer, right? That's the idea of biohacking and the new medicine. And so, we would get to a point where we were seeing menopause happen, in women in their 30s. It's becoming more prevalent that people are going through that perimenopause earlier and earlier. So, that's a great topic for us to talk about. Like I said before, like Kim and I have become kind of peptide queens is my joke. And so we've been doing a lot of like research and like personal use ourselves of things like injections of glutathione, injections of NAD+. Glutathione is a cleanser. So it kind of, I know that you can't cleanse the liver, you can't cleanse the body, but glutathione is one of the base peptides, and peptides are the building blocks for all of our cells. And so when you get those peptides that are specialized to do certain things, and we actually have peptides now that are being targeted for like certain organs. So you might take something that, is like, I see what you said, Lenza. You had a hysterectomy in your 30s. Sorry, my ADHD sometimes I'm trying to like read and see viewer count and kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So, but I forgot what I was saying, which is part of what this is about, right? is me learning how to like navigate, and I will be more prepared as time goes on. But anyway, I was hopeful that more people would actually kind of comment and join in that way. But again, I knew this was going to be a small audience because I kind of threw it out there at the last minute. In fact, Kim wasn't even supposed to be here because she had other things to do, meaning like going and learning about beauty stuff, things like that. But Lenza, yeah, hysterectomy. I mean, having a hysterectomy in your 30s, how that can like absolutely disrupt the and it wasn't your fault, Lenza, that you distracted me. It wasn't you. It was me. It was my brain. So, but yeah, having a hysterectomy in your 30s can disrupt all kinds of systems and cause things that, you know, we don't expect to have in our 30s, right? Like hormonal problems, thyroid issues. A lot of women who have hysterectomies at a very young age end up developing some type of like thyroid cancer or hypo or hyperthyroidism, where the thyroid just gets attacked. So used to say like, because again, women were not really studied in medicine, and our bodies do work differently than men's bodies. I mean, we have to just embrace that and stop kind of acting in the medical field as though, women are just men who can have babies, because that's not true at all. We have very specific needs. So one person on, I don't know who that is, but thank you for staying with me. But anyway, so hormone disruption, all kinds of stuff can happen from an early hysterectomy. So, well, I wasn't planning on being on for very long, but I did want to at least jump on here for 20, 30 minutes and see if I could get some feedback. Looks like people aren't really jumping on board, which is fine. Again, it was an unexpected thing. Anyway, oh, hey, Lenza. Okay, Kim left. That's okay. I'll give her crap later. Let's see. I can't think of what else. I mean, hysterectomy or, menopause health, great topics. A little bit about the speakers that I have kind of set up to start at some point in time in the next few months. I have a couple of female holistic doctors who work with women with HRT, who aren't afraid of using that and actually doing the testing that is required to get that. Hey, I'm just going to remind everybody as they jump on, I can't see who it is that's on here, so I can't say hi to you specifically. I'd love to until you comment. So if you could make a quick comment and just say hi and just let me know that you're here, that would be awesome. As far as the guests that I'm going to have, a couple of holistic female doctors who work mainly with women, again, middle age, just kind of like we're talking about. I have some that are just holistic in general that are excited to be on. I have a couple of people who do alternative medicine things. One of the things that, we run at my agency, we do ketamine and we do TMS. And so those two, I've learned a lot about them since I've been working there. And those two things are very powerful when it comes to mental health changes in the brain, but they also help a lot with the physical health because we now are starting to learn how much neurotransmitters and the brain function really affects the body. We know that depression can express itself in pain. And so there are people who have pain management who might have like an actual mechanical injury to their bodies, but they also have like depression, and it adds to that pain, and the pain management needs to be hopefully something different than opiates as we move forward into the new years ahead. So that's kind of exciting. I'm not opposed to pharmaceutical drugs. In fact, a really great question that was asked on a podcast that I was listening to the other day was, what is the difference between, and this is a question for you guys who are still on, what is the difference between natural medicine, right? Like people will say, oh, well, marijuana is natural because we grow it and it's a plant. But, Prozac is not natural. It's made in a laboratory. So this person posed the question of what really is the difference between those two? Is one worse or better than the other one? And I think it's a great question. I think it's a fantastic thing for us to think about as we move forward, especially as we move forward into this kind of new sense of looking at health not just from a body perspective, and looking at medicine from like a let's just hold this person together, because there are a lot of psychiatric doctors still too. Kim and I used to work together in a psych hospital, and we both talk about this, that there are a lot of psychiatric practitioners who will prescribe medication as like a cover up, like, oh, well, let's just give you this. When in my mind, the best use of psychiatric medication would be like the use of medication in a way that helps people to manage their symptoms. And like in the case of depression, for example, coupling that, a lot of states still don't mandate that people get counseling while they're taking psychiatric medication, which I think is kind of criminal to a certain extent. If you think about it, how much can just a good individual therapist help manage a lot of those symptoms and help a person like decrease their anxiety and their depression through somatic exercises like deep breathing exercises and grounding. And when you couple that with things like in the case of major depressive disorder, where somebody has failed an SSRI and then an SNRI, we would recommend them possibly for like a ketamine or for a TMS. And those two things can really help the brain manage physically to pull the bilateral stimulation of the left and right hemispheres back together again. But it also helps with the functioning of the front to back, right? So like prefrontal cortex, when you have trauma in your life, we know, for example, that there's a part in the brain that sits about right here, I guess, probably about where it sits, is the anterior cingulate cortex. And it sits kind of right behind the prefrontal cortex and in front of the hippocampus. And then you've got, the amygdala and the limbic system that's down here in the hindbrain that attaches to the spine and sends like panic signals to the body when people are in that panic mode. And so when that happens, depending on how much trauma or like other things that the person has, that amygdala can just kind of go off instantaneously and bypass the prefrontal cortex. So there's no thinking going on. So a lot of times if you get like a teenager or an adult who just reacts out of anger or out of like some like strong emotion, it's not that they're doing it on purpose. They're not trying to be angrily explosive. They can't help themselves because their prefrontal cortex is cut off. And part of that is that anterior cingulate cortex. We've discovered that physically in people with ADHD, autism, trauma, like PTSD or complex PTSD, people with bipolar disorder. They even lump bipolar disorder in there, but I'll talk about that at another time because I'm really very anti using that as a diagnosis. It really by borderline personality disorder is a means by which somebody has attempted to like face and ego protect from some kind of trauma. So people with BPD symptoms oftentimes are just so traumatized that, again, that limbic system, that amygdala actually grows. We know this in people with like very complex trauma, that amygdala can grow. And you can just imagine that if that amygdala is like larger than life, it's going to pick up on signals of danger and it's going to transmit that to the body and tell the body it's in danger even when it's not. And the prefrontal cortex just gets shut off entirely. But we know in people with those diagnoses that I was mentioning earlier that the anterior cingulate cortex will inflame and actually put pressure. This is kind of what we believe. It puts pressure on the prefrontal cortex and pushes it forward, which obviously doesn't help with the connectivity of that prefrontal cortex with the rest of the brain, and telling the rest of the brain that, no, we're safe from sitting on the couch watching TV. There's no one about to kill me, right? So that prefrontal cortex gets shut off, but it's also pressing back on the hippocampus, and we think it's putting pressure as well onto the amygdala. And so those two are getting activated. And so you get people who have this complex trauma that really sort of, connects with that like inability to be able to control that trauma. And so like ketamine, for example, we know that floods the hippocampus with dopamine, which then allows for that frontal and that amygdala to kind of talk to each other while you're awake. It's the same thing that any kind of psychoactive drug actually does. Ibogaine is used a lot in Mexico. That's an African plant that they get ibogaine from. It's not MDMA, but it's the other one. It's the MD something A. I can't remember the name of it, but they use that as well in conjunction a lot of times with the ibogaine. And they put people through like a spiritual journey almost of like healing through this process. But it does the same thing. It's that front to back communication between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. But the other thing that it does is it also allows that limbic system to kind of quiet down, because it really allows for that prefrontal cortex to like link in. There's also, obviously, most people have heard of the ayahuasca down in like Peru. I think there's some questionable people doing it like in Tucson, which those of us from Arizona know that Tucson's a little hippie-ish anyway. So, but yeah, so the use of psychedelics. TMS then helps with the bilateral stimulation and stimulating synapses that are like dead spots in the brain that aren't working anymore. Like depression is targeted right up here, anterior cingulate cortex, and helps to reignite, some of those synapses. EMDR does something similar. I'm not going to get into that right now because, again, I didn't want to make this too long, and I don't know if anybody else. I feel kind of like handing out Halloween candy. It's like you get like a rush here and a rush there and a group here and a group there. And then it's back down to nothing and you're left with like your two friends who are just hanging out in the driveway. So anyway, again, this wasn't meant to be a big deal. Kim, if you have any feedback, I'm sure you'll tell me later, if you're still on here, because I know there's two people on here, so I don't know if it's, I don't know who it is. It's a mystery. Um, okay, you're still here. But if you wanted to share any thoughts on that, you're more than welcome to, unless you want to tell me later. But anyway, so I guess it's just the three of us hanging out in the driveway on Halloween, and all the kids have already gone. So, and we're like just over 30 minutes into this. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Lenza, yeah, I know. I was hoping it was funny. Um, so, I'm going to go ahead and end the live video, but thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate my friends and anybody else, the mystery people who logged in. I don't know if it's going to show me after the fact, but I appreciate everybody who like logged in. It would have been nice to have a little bit more conversation, but again, this was so last minute that even Kim didn't know I was going to do it until the last minute. So that says something because I tell her everything. So anyway, all right. I love you guys, and thank you for joining. And any feedback that you want to give me later would be awesome. I'm totally open to it. Everything that you could, from my lipstick color to my good. I'm glad, Lenza, that it was funny. Everything from my lipstick color to, my dog whining in the background, which is kind of annoying. All of those things, topics, guest speakers, any of that stuff, background, because I want to make this really, I want to make this a really informative and amazing thing. So I can't wait. I know you can't. Sarcastic. All right. So I will talk to you guys probably in a little bit. And thank you for joining. I'll talk to you later. Bye.